That lip balm sitting on your nightstand right now is not what it used to be. I spent 6 weeks tracking exactly when America's most trusted lip care brands quietly swapped real moisturizing ingredients for cheap synthetic fillers, and 5 of them are not going to like this video. Lip balm feels like the most harmless product in your bathroom drawer. You put it on because your lips are dry, and 20 minutes later, you're reaching for it again. Most people assume that's just how lip balm works. It is not. When a moisturizer needs constant reapplication, that is not your biology failing you. That is a formula designed to create dependency instead of actual hydration, and once you see how it happens, you will never look at your medicine cabinet the same way. Let's start with the brand almost everyone in America has used at least once. Chapstick was created in 1880 by Dr. Charles Fleet, a physician in Lynchburg, Virginia, who developed a simple lip protectant to help his patients with chapped, cracked lips during the harsh winter months. He sold the formula to a local businessman, John Morton, in 1912, and the Morton family ran it as a small, trusted regional product for decades. It was medicine cabinet simple, petrolatum-based, unscented, effective. The kind of thing a mother kept in her purse and handed to her kids without a second thought. In 1963, Chapstick was acquired by A.H. Robbins, a pharmaceutical company, and later, in 1988, it landed in the hands of Wyeth, and eventually became part of Pfizer's consumer healthcare portfolio before that division was sold off. Pfizer is one of the largest pharmaceutical corporations in the world. Pharmaceutical giants do not acquire beloved drugstore lip balm brands because they love chapped lips. They acquire them because a product people repurchase every 4 to 6 weeks forever is one of the most reliable recurring revenue streams in consumer health. Here is what changed. Original Chapstick relied heavily on petrolatum, camphor, and menthol in balanced functional amounts. Today's classic Chapstick still lists petrolatum first, but many of the newer line extensions have shifted toward higher concentrations of menthol and camphor relative to the actual moisturizing base. In plain language, menthol and camphor create a cooling, tingling sensation that feels like relief. That sensation is not moisture. It is mild irritation that your nerve endings interpret as freshness, and it can actually accelerate moisture loss from the thin skin of your lips, according to dermatology research on counter-irritants. You've felt this. You apply it. Your lips feel cool and better for a few minutes, and then 20 minutes later, they feel drier than before you started. You blamed the weather. You blamed your own chapped lips for being stubborn. The problem was never your lips. The problem was a formula that trades a short burst of sensory feedback for actual barrier repair, because a product that works too well doesn't get repurchased every month. For a brand that built its name on being the trusted lip protectant in every American household's junk drawer, that is a quiet betrayal of the exact promise it was built on. Blistex traces back to 1947, developed by chemist Frank Roberts in Oak Brook, Illinois, marketed specifically as a medicated lip balm to actually treat cold sores and severely chapped lips, not just mask discomfort. It carried real medicinal positioning, registered with the FDA as an over-the-counter drug product in some formulations, which meant it had to meet active ingredient standards, not just cosmetic labeling standards. Blistex has remained privately held by the Blistex Inc. corporate structure, but its manufacturing and ingredient sourcing has shifted considerably as it expanded into dozens of product lines to compete on drugstore shelf space. Here is the loophole. Because certain Blistex products are registered as over-the-counter drugs while others in the same product family are registered as cosmetics, the ingredient standards and labeling requirements are completely different between two tubes that sit next to each other on the same shelf. Some of Blistex's core formulations include phenol or menthol as an active ingredient at levels that, according to FDA OTC drug monographs, are meant for short-term symptomatic relief, not daily long-term lip care. Phenol, in particular, is a compound that, at higher concentrations, is used as a disinfectant. In small regulated amounts on lips, it numbs surface irritation. It does not repair the skin barrier, and repeated daily use of phenol-containing lip products has been associated in dermatology literature with increased lip dryness and, in sensitive individuals, contact irritation. If you've ever used a medicated lip balm daily for months and noticed your lips seem more sensitive and flaky than before you started, that is reportedly a documented pattern with actives designed for occasional symptomatic use, not everyday moisturizing. That's the legal loophole. A product can call itself medicated, imply hospital-grade healing, and still contain ingredients whose intended use is short-term relief, not long-term hydration. EOS, or Evolution of Smooth, launched in 2009 by entrepreneurs Sanjeev Mehra, Jonathan Teller, and Craig Dubitsky, with a genuinely clever premise: a lip balm shaped like a colorful sphere, marketed directly at young women through influencer seeding and Sephora placement, positioning itself as the anti-chapstick, natural, fun, and modern. EOS built enormous brand loyalty among a generation of teenage and young adult women who grew up rotating through its flavors. That loyalty is exactly why it became a target. In 2016, EOS faced a widely publicized class action lawsuit after thousands of consumers, primarily documented through social media, reported severe lip reactions including cracking, blistering, and rash after regular use. Visual note: screenshot montage of social media posts describing EOS reactions dated 2016. The lawsuit specifically pointed to shea butter interacting with other ingredients, plus preservatives and fragrance compounds, causing allergic contact dermatitis in a subset of users. EOS settled the litigation without admitting fault, a standard legal outcome, but reportedly reformulated several product lines afterward. Here is the part that matters for you now. EOS ingredient lists still commonly include fragrance, listed simply as fragrance or parfum, which under FDA cosmetic labeling rules is a legal umbrella term that can hide dozens of individual undisclosed chemical compounds because fragrance formulas are protected as trade secrets. In plain language, when you see fragrance on an ingredient list, you are looking at a legally sanctioned blind spot. You have no way of knowing which specific compounds are actually in that tube, and neither do dermatologists trying to identify what triggered your reaction. For a generation of women who trusted EOS as their first real beauty purchase, discovering that the cute sphere in their bag helped trigger a class action lawsuit over lip damage is not just disappointing. It is a specific kind of nostalgia betrayal, because EOS marketed itself as the safe, fun alternative to old-fashioned medicated balms, while quietly containing some of the same undisclosed ingredient risks. Carmex was created in 1937 by Alfred Wellbing, a pharmacist in Chicago who mixed the original formula in his kitchen and sold it door to door before it grew into a Wisconsin-based family business, Karma Laboratories. For decades, it was marketed with a distinctly retro, almost medicinal aesthetic in its iconic small jars, and it built a reputation as the lip balm your grandmother kept in her purse. Karma Laboratories has remained privately, family-owned since its founding, which sounds reassuring, but ownership alone does not guarantee formula integrity. The deception here is not corporate, it is ingredient-based. Carmex's classic jar formula lists menthol, camphor, phenol, and salicylic acid as active ingredients. That is 4 separate irritant or exfoliating compounds in a single small jar meant for daily lip application. Salicylic acid is a beta-hydroxy acid used in acne treatments to exfoliate skin by breaking down the outer layer of cells. On your face, in controlled amounts, that has a purpose. On the thin, delicate skin of your lips, applied daily for years, dermatology sources note it can strip the natural lipid barrier that lips need to retain moisture, creating a cycle where your lips feel dry, you reapply, the salicylic acid strips further, and you reapply again. This is reportedly why so many longtime Carmex users describe it as addictive. That is not folklore. That is four active, exfoliating, and irritating compounds working daily on skin that was never meant to be exfoliated in the first place. You associate the tingle with it working. What is actually happening is mild chemical exfoliation, removing the protective layer your lips need, which is precisely why the dryness always comes back within hours. For a jar that has sat in purses and glove compartments for 3 generations of American women, marketed as gentle, grandmother-approved care, that ingredient list is a quiet generational betrayal. Vaseline itself dates back to 1859, developed by chemist Robert Chesebro in Brooklyn, New York, after he noticed oil rig workers using leftover petroleum residue to heal cuts and burns. He refined it into pure petroleum jelly and built Chesebro Manufacturing into a trusted household name for over a century. Chesebro's company merged with Pond's in 1955, and the combined company was acquired by Unilever in 1987. Unilever is a massive multinational conglomerate whose portfolio includes everything from Dove soap to Hellmann's mayonnaise to Axe body spray. Conglomerates like Unilever do not acquire a 130-year-old trusted skincare name because they love pure petroleum jelly. They acquire it because the brand recognition allows them to launch dozens of line extensions under the same trusted name, even when those extensions barely resemble the original product. Pure Vaseline petroleum jelly, the original jar, is still remarkably simple and genuinely effective as an occlusive moisture barrier. But Vaseline Lip Therapy, the tube version marketed specifically as lip balm, often includes added fragrance, flavoring agents, and in some tinted or rosy variants, dyes and additional waxes that dilute the pure petrolatum base. The FDA classifies petrolatum itself as a skin protectant when used at sufficient concentration, but once a company blends it with fragrance and flavoring to make it more fun, that protectant concentration drops, and so does its actual barrier performance. You bought Vaseline Lip Therapy because you trusted the Vaseline name from the blue jar your mother used. What you got was a diluted, flavored version riding on 130 years of earned trust in a completely different formula. Now that we've discussed the bad, let me show you the 5 lip balm brands that are actually worth your money. Burt's Bees was founded in 1984 by Bert Shavitz and Roxanne Quimby in Maine, built originally around beeswax candles before expanding into lip balm using real beeswax, sunflower oil, and vitamin E as the core moisturizing base. Yes, Clorox acquired Burt's Bees in 2007 for approximately $913 million, which sounds like exactly the corporate acquisition pattern we just spent 5 brands warning you about. Here's why it's different. Unlike the other acquisitions, Burt's Bees' classic beeswax formula has stayed remarkably close to its original recipe under Clorox ownership, likely because the brand's entire market value depends on maintaining its natural positioning. The classic stick lists roughly 7 ingredients: beeswax, sunflower oil, coconut oil, peppermint oil, vitamin E, comfrey, and rosemary extract. Do this test at home, apply it, and check your lips in 1 hour, not 20 minutes. Beeswax creates an actual physical seal that outlasts synthetic fillers, because it is a genuine occlusive barrier rather than a cooling sensation. At around $3 for a 0.15-ounce stick, you're paying roughly $20 per ounce, but spread across the 2 to 3 months a stick typically lasts. That's less than the cost of a single fast food value meal. Badger Balm. Badger Balm has been family-owned and operated in Gilsum, New Hampshire since 1995, founded by Bill White, and remains independently run with USDA organic certification on its core lip balm line. Their classic lip balm lists 5 ingredients: organic castor oil, organic beeswax, organic elderberry extract, organic rosemary extract, and organic tocopherol, which is simply vitamin E. 5 ingredients, all organic, all recognizable as food. Castor oil is a particularly effective moisturizer because its molecular structure allows deeper penetration into skin than many other plant oils, which is why Badger holds up well in genuinely cold, dry climates. At roughly $6 for a 0.75-ounce tin, that's about $8 per ounce, which sounds high until you realize a tin lasts most people 4 to 5 months. That's less than $2 a month for lip care with an ingredient list you can actually pronounce. Waxoline was created as a direct petroleum-free alternative to Vaseline, using beeswax, soybean oil, and rosemary extract instead of petroleum distillates. It remains a small, independently run company, and its entire pitch is transparency. 3 or 4 ingredients, no fragrance, no dye, no synthetic thickeners. Waxoline runs about $7 per 6-ounce jar, which is roughly $1.20 per ounce. And because it's a multi-purpose balm, one jar realistically covers lips, dry hands, and minor skin dryness for the better part of a year. Dr. Bronner's built its entire company identity, dating back to Emanuel Bronner's original soap formula from 1948, on radical ingredient transparency, and its lip balm line follows the same philosophy, with organic ingredients like organic candelilla wax replacing beeswax for a vegan formula, organic coconut oil, and organic hemp seed oil. It carries USDA, organic, and fair trade certifications and remains privately controlled by the Bronner family rather than sold to a conglomerate. At around $4 for a 0.15-ounce tube, that works out to roughly $27 per ounce, the highest per ounce cost on this list, but a tube still lasts 2 to 3 months of regular use, putting the real cost at under $2 a month. All Good is an independently owned company based in California, and its lip balm uses organic beeswax, organic coconut oil, organic shea butter, and non-GMO vitamin E, with reef-safe formulations for its sunscreen lip products specifically verified by third-party marine safety testing, which matters if you're the kind of person who actually reads what goes on your lips before a day at the beach. Its non-GMO project, verified and free of the fragrance umbrella problem we saw with EOS, listing any scent source explicitly as a named essential oil. At about $3.50 per 0.15-ounce stick, roughly $23 per ounce, spread across 2 months of use, you're looking at less than $2 a month. Again, trivially small compared to what you'd spend on a single coffee run. Here's the thing about lip balm that nobody tells you. The industry is counting on the fact that dry lips feel urgent, and urgency makes you grab whatever's closest at the checkout counter instead of reading the label. Your family deserves better than a tingling sensation marketed as healing. If this changed how you look at the tube sitting in your bag right now, subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week I'm tracking down what actually happened to sunscreen formulas over the last decade, and what I found is worse than lip balm.